The Valari Dominion had ruled the stars for 3,000 years. Their empire stretched across 200 star systems. They had conquered 97 different species. Not a single one had ever defeated them in battle. Their ships were massive, their weapons were powerful, and their soldiers were trained from birth to fight and kill. High Commander Torvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He was tall, even for a Valari. His gray skin was covered in battle scars. His 4 eyes glowed with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. Behind him, 200 warships waited in formation. Each one was capable of destroying a small moon. "Report," Torvax said. His voice was deep and cold. "We have located the source of the radio signals, Commander," said his second officer. "A small planet in an unremarkable star system. The natives call it Earth." Torvax looked at the blue and green planet on his display screen. It was beautiful, he had to admit. The ocean sparkled under the yellow sun. White clouds drifted across the surface. According to their scans, the planet had rich resources and a large population. "What do we know about these Earthlings?" Torvax asked. "They call themselves humans, Commander. They are a young species. They have only been traveling in space for about 200 years. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Their fastest ships would take months to reach their nearest neighbor star. They have no energy shields. Their weapons use simple projectiles and basic energy beams." Torvax laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "So they are children playing with toys. How many of them are there?" "Approximately 8 billion on their home world, Commander. They have small colonies on their moon and on the 4th planet of their system." 8 billion, Torvax repeated. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 8 billion new slaves for the Dominion. Send them the standard message. They have 72 hours to surrender. The message was sent at the speed of light. It reached Earth in less than a second. Captain Park Jisoo was drinking her morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had been the commander of the orbital station Horizon for 3 years. It was usually a quiet job. The station monitored space traffic and watched for asteroids. Nothing exciting ever happened until today. "What is it?" she asked, running onto the bridge. Her coffee spilled on her uniform, but she did not care. Lieutenant Kim Do-yoon looked up from his console. He was young, maybe 25, with glasses and a nervous expression. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission. It is not from any human source." Jisoo felt her heart stop for a moment. "Show me." The main screen flickered. A face appeared. It was clearly not human. Gray skin, 4 glowing eyes, sharp teeth. The creature spoke in a language Jisoo did not understand, but text appeared at the bottom of the screen. Someone or something was translating. "Attention, primitive species of Earth. I am High Commander Torvax of the Valari Dominion. Your planet and all its resources now belong to the Dominion. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. If you refuse, we will destroy your cities, enslave your population, and take what we want by force. Resistance is not advised. The Valari have never been defeated. Choose wisely." The screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody on the bridge spoke. Jill could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. First contact with alien life. This was supposed to be a moment of wonder and celebration. Instead, it was a death threat. "How many ships?" she asked quietly. Diane's hands were shaking as he checked his sensors. "I am detecting 200 vessels, Captain. They are holding position just beyond the orbit of Mars. Each ship is approximately 3 kilometers long. Their power readings are, Captain, their smallest ship has more firepower than our entire fleet combined." Jisoo closed her eyes. She thought about her parents in Seoul, her sister in Bizen, her nephew who had just started elementary school. 8 billion people. 8 billion lives hanging in the balance. "Contact Earth Command," she said. "Get me Admiral Lee. Get me the President. Get me everyone." The next 12 hours were chaos. World leaders held emergency meetings. Military commanders argued about options. Scientists analyzed the alien transmission. News networks broadcast the message around the world. Some people panicked. Others prayed. A few did not believe it was real. Jisoo did not sleep. She watched the reports coming in from around the world. Riots in some cities. Prayer gatherings in others. Families hugging each other, not knowing if they would survive the week. Admiral Lee Haijin appeared on her screen. She was an older woman, maybe 60, with silver hair and a stern face. She had commanded the Earth Defense Fleet for 15 years. But the Earth Defense Fleet was designed to handle pirates and the occasional asteroid, not an alien invasion. "Captain Park," the Admiral said, "you were the first to receive their message. What is your assessment?" Jisoo took a deep breath. "Admiral, their technology is far beyond ours. By any logical calculation, we cannot win a direct confrontation. Surrender would be the rational choice." Admiral Lee nodded slowly. "And what do you recommend?" Jisoo thought about her grandmother. The old woman had lived through hard times. She had survived occupation, war, and poverty. She had raised 3 children in a small apartment with barely enough food. And she had never, ever, ever given up. "My grandmother used to tell me something," Jisoo said. "She said Koreans have survived invasions for 5,000 years. Mongols, Japanese, everyone tried to conquer us. We bent, but we never broke. Your point, Captain?" "My point, Admiral, is that humans have been fighting impossible odds since we lived in caves. We fought lions with sticks. We survived ice ages. We rebuilt our cities after every war. Maybe we cannot beat them, but maybe we do not have to. Maybe we just have to survive long enough to make them regret picking a fight with us." Admiral Lee was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. "Draft a response, Captain. Keep it short." Jisoo thought carefully. The whole world was watching. 8 billion people were waiting to hear what humanity would say to its first alien contact. Their first words to the stars. She typed 2 words and sent them. High Commander Torvax received the reply on his bridge. He read it 3 times, not quite believing what he was seeing. Around him, his officers waited nervously. "What did they say, Commander?" his second officer asked. Torvax read the message aloud. "We decline." The bridge was silent. "We decline?" his second officer repeated. "They are refusing?" "Commander, do they not understand what we will do to them?" Torvax stared at the 2 words on his screen. In 3,000 years of conquest, 97 species had received the Dominion's ultimatum. All 97 had surrendered. Some had begged for mercy. Others had tried to negotiate. But not one had ever simply said no. Perhaps their translation was wrong, someone suggested. Perhaps they did not understand the message. "No," Torvax said slowly. "They understood. They simply do not care." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare the fleet. If these humans want war, we will give them war." But deep in some forgotten corner of his mind, a tiny voice whispered a warning. A species that refused to surrender, even when facing certain destruction. A species that said no to the Valari Dominion. Perhaps, just perhaps, they had made a mistake. On the station horizon, Captain Park Jisoo watched the alien fleet begin to move toward Earth. She was afraid. Of course she was afraid. Only a fool would not be afraid. But she was also something else. Something that surprised her. She was angry. These aliens had come to her home. They had threatened her family, her people, her planet. They expected humanity to kneel and beg for mercy. They had no idea who they were dealing with. "Lieutenant Kim," she said calmly, "begin evacuation procedures for all non-essential personnel. Then contact every ship in the system. Tell them to prepare for battle." "Captain," Dojin said, his voice shaking, "we cannot win this fight." Jisoo turned to look at him. Her eyes were hard and determined. "Maybe not, but we can make them bleed. And maybe that will be enough." The war for Earth had begun. The Valari expected Earth to fall in days. Their war planners had calculated everything. 200 warships against a primitive species with barely 50 combat vessels. The math was simple. The outcome was certain. They were wrong. Admiral Lee Haijin stood in the command center of the carrier Baekdu. It was the largest ship in the human fleet, but compared to the Valari vessels, it was like a fishing boat facing a whale. Around her, officers worked at their stations. Their faces were pale with fear, but their hands were steady. "Status report," Haijin said. "All ships are in position, Admiral," her aide reported. "We have 47 combat vessels, 200 armed civilian transports, and approximately 3,000 fighter craft. The Valari fleet is approaching. They will be in weapons range in 6 hours." Haijin nodded. She had been a soldier for 40 years. She had fought pirates, stopped terrorist attacks, and protected Earth's shipping lanes. But nothing had prepared her for this. No one had ever prepared for this. "Open a channel to all ships," she said. Her face appeared on screens across the human fleet. Thousands of sailors and soldiers looked at their commander, waiting for her words. "This is Admiral Lee," she began. "I will not lie to you. The enemy is stronger than us. Their ships are bigger. Their weapons are more powerful. By all normal calculations, we should lose this battle." She paused. "But we are not fighting a normal battle. We are fighting for our home, for our families, for every human being on Earth. And that changes everything." She took a deep breath. "We cannot beat them with strength. So we will beat them with cleverness. We will fight dirty. We will use every trick we know. And we will make them pay for every inch of space they take. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are made of." Lee out. The channel closed. Haijin turned to her tactical officer, a young man named Yoon Tai-woo. He was not military. 3 weeks ago, he had been an engineer at a shipyard in Busan. Now he was helping plan humanity's defense. "Tell me about your plan," Haijin said. Tai-woo adjusted his glasses nervously. He was not used to talking to admirals. "The Valari ships have energy shields, Admiral. Our weapons cannot penetrate them directly. But shields require enormous amounts of power. Every hit drains their generators, even if it does not cause damage. Go on. We have approximately 10,000 civilian freighters in the system. Cargo ships, mining vessels, passenger transports. They are not combat ships, but they are big, and..." Tai-woo pulled up a diagram on the main screen. "If we fill them with rocks and aim them at the enemy fleet, they become missiles. Big, slow, stupid missiles. The Valari shields will stop them, but each impact will drain their power. If we hit them with enough ships, their shields will fail," Haijin finished. "And then our real weapons can hurt them." Tai-woo nodded. "It will not destroy their fleet, but it might give us a chance." "You are asking me to sacrifice 10,000 ships," Haijin said quietly. "They will be empty, Admiral. Controlled by computer. No human crews." Haijin was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Do it. What else?" Dr. Cho Minji stepped forward. She was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. Before the invasion, her job had been mostly theoretical. Now she was analyzing intercepted Valari communications, trying to find any weakness. "I found something, Admiral," Minji said. Her voice was excited. The Valari have a biological requirement. They need to enter a deep sleep cycle every 18 hours. It is not optional. Their entire species does it at the same time, synchronized across their fleet. During this period, they are completely unconscious for approximately 6 hours. Haijin stared at her. Are you telling me their entire fleet goes to sleep at the same time? Yes, Admiral. It appears to be an evolutionary trait. On their homeworld, they were prey animals. Sleeping together in groups was safer. When is their next sleep cycle? Minji checked her notes. In approximately 14 hours, Admiral. A smile slowly spread across Haijin's face. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had just found her prey's weakness. Then we attack in 14 hours, she said. We hit them while they are sleeping. Every ship, every weapon, everything we have. That is. Tai Wu hesitated. That is not honorable, Admiral. Haijin turned to look at him. Her eyes were cold. They came to our home. They threatened to enslave our children. They gave us 72 hours to surrender or die. Honor is a luxury we cannot afford. We fight to win. Nothing else matters. The first battle of Earth began at 0300 hours, Earth Standard Time. The Valari fleet was in its sleep cycle. Their automated defense systems were active, but the crews were unconscious. 8,000 empty freighters hit the fleet like a swarm of angry bees. The Valari shields flared and sparked as each ship slammed into them. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. The automated systems fired back, destroying thousands of the incoming vessels. But there were too many. Then the human fleet struck. 47 warships, and 2,000 fighters attacked from 3 different directions. They targeted the ships with the weakest shield readings. Missiles and energy beams poured into the Valari formation. High Commander Torvax woke to the sound of alarms. His head was foggy from interrupted sleep. Around him, his bridge crew was struggling to wake up. Report, he shouted. What is happening? We are under attack, Commander. The humans, they attacked during our sleep cycle. Torvax felt a cold rage building in his chest. The sleep cycle was sacred. No civilized species would attack during rest time. It was barbaric. It was dishonorable, but it was also incredibly effective. How many ships have we lost? 40 vessels destroyed, Commander. 60 more with significant damage. Torvax could not believe what he was hearing. 40 ships in a single attack against a primitive species that should have been crushed in hours. Order all ships to emergency protocols. Wake the entire fleet. Counterattack immediately. But the humans were already retreating. They had hit hard and fast, and now they were running. By the time the Valari fleet was fully operational, the human ships had scattered into the asteroid belt. The battle had lasted 14 minutes. The Valari had lost 40 ships. The humans had lost none. On the Baekdu, Admiral Lee Haijin allowed herself a small smile. It was not a victory. Not really. The Valari still had 160 ships. They were still powerful enough to destroy Earth 10 times over. But they had proven something. They had shown the galaxy that humans would not go quietly. They would fight. They would scratch and bite and claw. They would make the invaders pay for every step. The second battle came 3 days later. This time, the Valari were ready. They had adjusted their sleep cycles, staggering them so that part of the fleet was always awake. They expected the same attack pattern. They did not get it. Instead of attacking the fleet directly, the humans targeted their supply lines. Small, fast ships struck at the cargo vessels bringing food and fuel to the Valari armada. They planted mines in shipping lanes. They sent false signals to confuse navigation systems. Sergeant Han Sujin led one of these raiding parties. She was 31 years old, from a small town near Daegu. Before the war, she had been a police officer. Now she commanded a crew of 12 on a converted cargo ship. Target in range, her pilot reported. Sujin looked at the Volari supply ship on her screen. It was 10 times the size of her little vessel. But it was alone, and it was carrying fuel for the enemy fleet. "Fire everything," she said. Her ship launched every missile it had. The Volari vessel's shields flared, weakened, and then failed. The final missiles struck the hull directly. The supply ship exploded in a ball of fire. "Target destroyed," the pilot said. "Enemy reinforcements incoming. We need to go." "Go," Sujin agreed. "We got what we came for." As her ship fled into the darkness, Sujin felt a strange sensation. Pride. They were tiny and weak compared to the enemy. But they were making a difference. One ship at a time, one battle at a time, they were fighting back. High Commander Torvax received the reports with growing frustration. His fleet was not moving forward. It was not conquering Earth. It was sitting in space, constantly harassed by tiny human ships that struck and ran like insects. "How many supplies have we lost?" he demanded. 12 cargo ships this week, Commander. Our fuel reserves are at 70%. Food supplies are running low. This is ridiculous." Torvax slammed his fist on the console. "They are primitives. They should be begging for mercy, not attacking our supply lines." "Commander," his science officer said carefully, "I have been analyzing human history. They have a long tradition of what they call guerrilla warfare. It appears that when faced with stronger enemies, they use unconventional tactics, ambush, sabotage, attacks on supply lines. I do not care about their history. I want them destroyed." But even as he spoke, Torvax felt something he had never felt before in battle. Something that felt almost like doubt. These humans were not behaving like any species the Volari had ever conquered. They were not surrendering. They were not negotiating. They were not even fighting fairly. They were fighting to win. And slowly, painfully, they were making progress. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Volari Dominion was not advancing. They were stuck. And somewhere in the asteroid belt, Admiral Lee Haijin was planning her next attack. The war was just beginning. News traveled fast through the galaxy. Traders carried stories from system to system. Communication networks spread information across hundreds of light years in seconds. And the story spreading now was unlike anything the galaxy had heard in centuries. A primitive species was fighting the Volari Dominion. And winning. Well, not exactly winning, but not losing either. And for a species that had never traveled beyond its own star system, that was practically the same thing. On the neutral station of Meridian Prime, representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss this strange new development. The station was ancient, built by a civilization that had died out long before the Volari rose to power. It floated between star systems, belonging to no one, and therefore safe for everyone. Ambassador Kang Yunji arrived on a small shuttle. She was 53 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and calm, intelligent eyes. Before the invasion, she had been a diplomat at the United Nations. Now she was humanity's first ambassador to the galaxy. The shuttle bay was crowded with alien vessels of every shape and size. Yunji tried not to stare. She had seen the Volari, of course. But these were different. There were creatures with scales and creatures with feathers. Beings that floated through the air and beings that crawled on multiple legs. She saw colors she had never imagined and heard sounds she could not describe. Her guide was a small, round creature that called itself a translator. It had been assigned to help her communicate with the other species. "The Council is curious about you," the translator said. Its voice was like bells ringing. "You are the first humans to visit Meridian Prime. Many did not even know your species existed until recently. We did not know you existed either, Yunji said. We thought we were alone in the universe. Everyone thinks that at first, the translator replied. Then they learned the truth. The galaxy is very crowded. The main council chamber was enormous. Seats rose in tiers around a central platform. Hundreds of alien faces looked down at Yunji as she walked to the center of the room. She felt very small and very alone, an ancient being sat on the highest platform. It looked like a tree that had learned to move. Its bark was dark with age, and its leaves were silver. This was the historian, a member of the oldest known species in the galaxy. It had been alive when the Valari were still living in caves. Ambassador Kang, the historian said. Its voice was slow and deep, like wind rustling through a forest. We have been watching your species with great interest. The Valari have conquered 97 species over 3,000 years. Not one has resisted as you have. Tell us, why do you fight when you cannot win? Yunji looked up at the ancient creature. She thought about how to answer. This might be the most important speech in human history. With respect, historian, we do not believe we cannot win, she said. We simply have not won yet. A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. Several species made sounds that might have been laughter. The Valari have never been defeated, a tall, insect-like creature said. They have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than yours. You have no shields, no faster-than-light travel, no advanced weapons. What makes you think you can succeed where so many others have failed? Yunji smiled. Let me tell you about human history. Our planet has one large landmass broken into many pieces. For thousands of years, we fought each other. We invaded our neighbors, conquered distant lands, and built empires that rose and fell like waves on a beach. She began to walk slowly around the platform, looking at each species in turn. My country, Korea, sits on a small peninsula. We have been invaded many times. The Mongols came with their horses. The Japanese came with their armies. Larger neighbors tried to swallow us. But we are still here. We still speak our language. We still remember who we are. She stopped and faced the historian directly. We have a saying on Earth. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. It means that no matter how many times we are knocked down, we get back up. We rebuilt our cities after wars that killed millions. We recovered from plagues that killed half our population. We survived ice ages, famines, and natural disasters. We are very, very good at not dying. The chamber was silent. The Valari expect us to surrender, Yunji continued. Every other species has surrendered. But surrender is not in our nature. We do not know how to give up. Even when we are losing, we keep fighting. Even when it is hopeless, we refuse to stop. This is not courage. It is stubbornness. And it is the one thing the Valari did not plan for. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish drifted closer. But you are dying, it said. Our sensors show that the Valari have bombed your cities. Millions of your people are dead. Yes, Yunji admitted. We are dying. But we are also killing. Every day, the Valari lose ships and soldiers. Every day, their advance slows. They expected to conquer Earth in a week. It has been 3 months, and they still do not control our planet. She turned to address the entire chamber. We are not asking for you to fight for us. We know we are strangers here. But we are asking for help. Weapons, supplies, medicine, information. Anything you can give us. In return, we offer something simple. We will keep fighting. We will keep the Valari busy. And maybe, just maybe, we will show the galaxy that the Dominion is not as invincible as everyone thinks. The chamber erupted in discussion. Dozens of species argued in languages Yunji could not understand. She waited patiently, her heart pounding in her chest. Finally, the historian raised a branch for silence. "We cannot officially support your war," it said. "The Valari would destroy us if we oppose them openly, but—" It paused. "There are ways to help that do not involve official support. Traders who lose their cargo in unfortunate accidents. Ships that drift off course into your system. Information that somehow leaks through communication networks." Yunji understood. "Unofficial help. Consider it a test," the historian said. "If you survive long enough, more help may come. But first, you must prove that you are worth helping. Prove that humans are more than just stubborn primitives fighting a losing battle." "We will prove it," Yunji said firmly. "You can count on that." Back on Earth, the war continued. The Valari had landed ground troops on 3 continents. They expected easy conquest. They got something very different. Sergeant Han Sujin crouched in the ruins of what had once been a shopping mall. A squad of 15 soldiers hid around her, waiting in silence. Outside, Valari soldiers marched down the street, their heavy boots crushing broken glass. "How many?" Sujin whispered to her scout. 20, Sergeant. Light armor. Standard weapons." Sujin nodded. The Valari were taller and stronger than humans. Their armor could stop small arms fire, but they were also overconfident. They walked through occupied territory like they owned it, which, technically, they did. This part of Seoul had fallen 3 weeks ago. But falling and being conquered were 2 different things. "Wait for my signal," Sujin said. The Valari patrol walked closer. They were talking among themselves, relaxed and casual. They had fought on a dozen worlds, and everywhere they went. The conquered populations had been quiet and obedient. Humans were not quiet and obedient. "Now," Sujin said, 15 explosions went off simultaneously. The bombs had been hidden in rubble, in broken cars, and collapsed buildings. The Valari patrol was caught completely by surprise. 8 of them went down immediately. Before the survivors could react, Sujin's squad opened fire. They used captured Valari weapons, which could penetrate Valari armor. The fight lasted less than 30 seconds. "Grab their weapons and supplies," Sujin ordered. "We leave in 2 minutes." By the time Valari reinforcements arrived, Sujin's squad was gone. They had disappeared into the underground tunnels that ran beneath the city. The Valari searched for hours, but found nothing. This scene repeated itself across the planet. In the forests of South America, guerrilla fighters ambushed Valari convoys. In the mountains of Europe, resistance cells sabotaged enemy communication networks. In the deserts of Africa, hidden bases launched attacks and then vanished into the sand. The Valari controlled territory, but they did not control the population. Every building could hide an enemy. Every civilian could be a fighter. Every moment of peace could end in violence. "They do not surrender," a Valari commander reported to High Commander Torvax. "They do not negotiate. When we capture them, they refuse to talk. When we threaten them, they spit in our faces. I have never seen anything like it. They are animals," Torvax said. "We will break them eventually." But his voice lacked conviction. The war was not going as planned. His fleet was being harassed from all directions. His ground troops were being killed in endless small attacks. And now, reports were coming in that alien traders were somehow delivering weapons to the humans. The galaxy was watching. And slowly, quietly, it was starting to take sides. Ambassador Kang Yunji returned to Earth with the first shipment of alien supplies. It was not much, just a few crates of advanced medicine and some basic weapon upgrades. But it was a start. "They are helping us," she reported to Admiral Lee Hai-jin. "Not officially, but they are helping. If we can hold out long enough, more will come." Hai-jin looked at the crates. They represented something more valuable than their contents. They represented hope. "Then we hold out," she said simply. Whatever it takes, we hold out. Outside, the stars burned in the endless darkness. 6 months had passed since the Valari arrived at Earth. By normal standards of war, humanity was losing. The enemy controlled 40% of Earth's surface. Major cities lay in ruins. Millions of people were dead or displaced. The human fleet had been reduced to half its original size, but by human standards, they were winning because they were still fighting, still resisting, still making the Valari pay for every inch of ground. And the Great Dominion, which had never failed to conquer a world in less than 2 weeks, was stuck. General Baek Ji-hoon looked at the map of Earth displayed on the wall of his underground bunker. He was 60 years old, with a shaved head and a thick scar running down his left cheek. The bunker was hidden deep beneath the mountains of Gangwon Province. It was cold, cramped, and uncomfortable. It was also the nerve center of humanity's resistance. "Status report," he said. Colonel Shin Mi-rae stepped forward. She was his second in command, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. "The Valari have paused their advance, General. They are consolidating their positions and waiting for reinforcements. How long until their reinforcements arrive?" "Our intelligence suggests 3 to 4 weeks. Another 100 ships." Ji-hoon nodded grimly. Another 100 ships would tip the balance decisively in the enemy's favor. They had to act before that happened. "What about our special project?" he asked. Mi-rae smiled slightly. "Ready for testing, General. The engineers finished the modifications yesterday. Over the past 2 months, human scientists had been working on captured Valari technology. They could not replicate the advanced systems entirely, but they had learned enough to improve their own weapons. More importantly, they had learned how to build a weapon specifically designed to hurt Valari ships. It was called the Javelin. It was a missile armed with a special warhead that could penetrate Valari shields by matching their frequency. In simple terms, it could slip through their defenses like a key into a lock. "How many do we have?" Ji-hoon asked. 12, General. Enough for 1 strike. 12 missiles. Against 160 enemy ships. The odds were terrible. But Ji-hoon had not survived 6 months of impossible war by playing it safe. "Then, we do not waste them on random targets," he said. "We go straight for the heart. We kill their commander." High Commander Torvax sat on his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He had not slept well in weeks. The war that should have ended in days was dragging on for months. His superiors back home were sending increasingly angry messages. His soldiers were tired and demoralized. And worst of all, other species were starting to notice. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Traders were openly selling weapons to the humans. Journalists were broadcasting stories about human resistance. There were even rumors that some species were considering rebellion against the Dominion, all because of one small, stubborn planet. "Commander," his aide said nervously, "you have a communication from the Dominion Council. Put it through." The screen flickered, and the faces of the Dominion's rulers appeared. They were old, these council members, ancient even by Valari standards. They had ruled the stars for generations. They did not look happy. "High Commander Torvax," the senior counselor said. His voice was cold. "Explain yourself." "The humans are more resistant than anticipated," Torvax said carefully. "They use unconventional tactics. They refuse to follow the normal patterns of warfare. We gave you 200 ships, the largest fleet ever assembled for a single conquest. And you are telling us that you cannot defeat a species that discovered fire only a few thousand years ago. With respect, Counselor, these humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They do not behave rationally. They do not surrender when they should. They do not negotiate when it would benefit them. They simply fight." The counselor's eyes narrowed. The galaxy is watching, Torvax. Every species we have ever conquered is watching. If we fail here, if we appear weak, there will be rebellions across the Dominion. You have 2 weeks. Finish this war, or we will find someone who can. The screen went dark. Torvax sat in silence for a long moment. 2 weeks. 2 weeks to destroy a species that had already survived 6 months of his best efforts. In her small fighter, Lieutenant Oyuna checked her controls for the 10th time. She was 23 years old, with short hair and calm eyes. Before the war, she had been a commercial pilot, flying passengers between Earth and the Moon. Now she was part of the most important mission in human history. Strike Team. This is Command. General Beak's voice crackled through her radio. Your target is the Valari flagship, the Eternal Conquest. It is located at the center of their formation. You will have to fly through 160 enemy ships to reach it. Understood, Command, replied Captain No Junho, the mission leader. He was flying the lead ship, carrying one of the 12 precious Javelin missiles. What kind of resistance can we expect? Heavy. The flagship is their most protected asset. You will face fighters, defensive weapons, and energy shields. We estimate a 92% casualty rate. 92%. Out of 12 ships, only 1 would likely survive. Yuna looked at her hands. They were steady. She was not afraid. Strange as it seemed, she was at peace. Any last words, Command? Junho asked. Yes, Jihun said. His voice was unusually soft. You are the best pilots humanity has ever produced. What you do today will be remembered for as long as our species exists. Whatever happens, know that you have made us proud. Thank you, General. Strike Team, begin attack run. 12 ships accelerated toward the Valari fleet. They were small, fast, and nearly invisible to sensors thanks to modifications based on captured technology. But they could not remain hidden forever. The first enemy response came when they crossed the outer defensive perimeter. Valari fighters swarmed toward them like angry insects. Yuna's wingman went down in the first exchange, his ship exploding in a ball of fire. Stay focused, Junho ordered. Keep moving. Do not stop for anything. Another ship went down. Then another. The Valari were throwing everything they had at the incoming attackers. They did not know about the Javelin missiles, but they knew that any human attack was dangerous. 7 ships left. Then 6. Then 5. Yuna flew like she had never flown before. She dodged enemy fire, weaved between Valari warships, and kept her eyes fixed on the distant flagship. It loomed ahead, massive and terrible, the symbol of everything that threatened her home. 4 ships. 3. Captain Junho's ship was hit. His last transmission was a single word. Go. 2 ships. Just Yuna and 1 other pilot, a man named Song Byung-ho. They were close now, so close they could see the individual weapon ports on the flagship's hull. Bong-ho, you still with me? Yuna asked. Right behind you. My ship is damaged. I do not think I can make the return trip. Then make this shot count. They came in low, using the flagship's own shadow to hide from defensive weapons. The final approach was the most dangerous part. The flagship's close-range defenses were designed to stop exactly this kind of attack. Byung-ho's ship exploded. Yuna did not have time to mourn. She was the last one. 12 pilots had started this mission. She was the only one left, her targeting computer locked onto the flagship's reactor core. It was the weak point, the spot where a Javelin missile could do the most damage. One good hit might not destroy the ship entirely, but it would cripple it. And without their flagship, without their commander, the Valari fleet would be thrown into chaos. This is Lieutenant Oyuna of the United Earth Defense Force, she said, broadcasting on all frequencies. Both human and Valari would hear her words. You came to our home. You killed our people. You thought we would kneel." She armed the Javelin missile. The flagship's guns were turning toward her. She had seconds, maybe less. "We do not kneel." She fired. The missile streaked toward the flagship. For a terrible moment, Yuna thought it would be stopped by the shields. Then it slipped through, exactly as designed, and struck the reactor core. The explosion was visible from Earth. Yuna's ship was caught in the blast wave. Her last sensation was heat, then light, then nothing at all. On Earth, General Baek Ji-hoon watched the aftermath through long-range sensors. The flagship was gone. High Commander Torvax was dead. 17 ships that had been too close to the explosion were destroyed or disabled. The remaining Velari fleet was scattering in confusion, their command structure shattered. "Lieutenant O's transmitter has gone dark," Colonel Shen reported quietly. "All 12 pilots are confirmed lost." Ji-hoon closed his eyes. 12 young people. The best humanity had gone. "They will be remembered," he said softly. "They gave us a chance. Now we need to use it." News of the attack spread across the planet. The great Velari flagship, destroyed by a single human pilot. The invincible enemy, bleeding and confused. For the first time since the war began, people dared to hope. In the resistance cells, in the hidden bunkers, in the occupied cities, humans watched the burning wreckage of the eternal conquest and felt something change. The Velari could be hurt. They could be killed. They could be beaten. The tide was turning, and somewhere in the light of a distant explosion, the spirit of Lieutenant Oyuna flew free among the stars. The Galactic Council had not held an emergency session in over a century. The last time had been when a dying star threatened to destroy 3 inhabited systems. Before that, it had been the end of a war that had lasted 500 years. Now, they gathered again. Representatives from 200 species filled the great chamber on Meridian Prime, and at the center of everyone's attention was a single, remarkable fact. The Velari Dominion, undefeated for 3,000 years, was requesting a ceasefire, not with a powerful empire, not with an advanced civilization, with humanity, a species that most of the galaxy had never heard of until a year ago. The new Velari commander, a female named Torvac, stood at the speaking platform. She was young for her position, barely 40 cycles old. She had been given command after the death of High Commander Torvax, and her first order had been to retreat. "The Velari Dominion proposes an immediate end to hostilities," she said. Her voice was steady, but there was something in her 4 eyes that looked almost like fear. "We will withdraw all forces from the Sol system. We will pay reparations for damages caused. We will recognize Earth as a sovereign world, not subject to Dominion authority." The chamber exploded in whispers. Reparations, withdrawal, recognition of sovereignty. These were words that the Velari had never spoken before. In 3,000 years of conquest, they had never surrendered territory, never paid damages, never acknowledged that any species was their equal. Until now. Representative Moon Sung-ho stood at the human platform. He was 64 years old, with white hair and a face lined with grief. He had been a history professor before the war. He had lost his wife in the first bombardment, his son in the ground fighting, his daughter in a resistance action. He had volunteered to speak for humanity because he had nothing left to lose. "The Velari proposal is accepted," he said calmly. "We will cease all attacks once your ships leave our system. We will allow your surviving soldiers to return home. We will not pursue vengeance beyond our borders." Torvik bowed her head slightly. "Your species is generous. Our species is tired," Sung-ho replied. "We have lost millions of our people. Our cities are in ruins. Our world is scarred. We want peace, not endless war. But understand this, Commander. If you ever return, If you ever threaten Earth again, we will fight you with the same determination we have shown these past months. And next time, we will have all eyes." He looked around the chamber at the assembled species. Many of them had been conquered by the Valari. Many of them had lived in fear of the Dominion for generations. And all of them had watched humans do the impossible. "I believe," Sung-Ho continued, "that the galaxy is changing. The Valari have ruled through fear for 3,000 years. But fear only works as long as people believe they cannot win. We have shown that they can win. The Dominion's power rests on a lie, and that lie has been exposed." The chamber was silent. Torvak stepped forward. Her movements were stiff, formal. "May I speak with your representative privately?" Sung-Ho nodded. They moved to a small room off the main chamber. Through the window, stars glittered in the eternal darkness. "Your species is unexpected," Torvak said quietly. "We have conquered worlds with populations in the billions. They surrendered within days. You are only 8 billion, with inferior technology. How did you do it?" Sung-Ho considered the question. He thought about his students back at the university, about the young people he had taught history to for 30 years, about all the wars and invasions and disasters he had lectured about. "There is an old concept in my culture," he said. "We call it Jeng. It is hard to translate. It means deep affection, connection, loyalty that goes beyond logic. We feel it for our families, our friends, our communities. When you attacked Earth, you did not just attack a planet. You attacked 8 billion people's Jeng. I do not understand. Let me try to explain. On my planet, we have these small insects called bees. Individually, they are tiny and harmless. But if you threaten their hive, they will attack without hesitation. Not because they can win, but because the hive is everything to them. They will sting you even though it kills them. They will die to protect their home." Sung-Ho looked directly into Torvak's 4 eyes. "Humans are like bees. You can kill us one by one. You can burn our cities and destroy our armies. But as long as one of us is alive, we will keep fighting. Not because we think we can win. Not because it is logical. But because our home, our people, our Jeng is worth dying for." He smiled, and there was no warmth in it. "You picked a fight with a species that would rather die than abandon what they love. Congratulations, Commander. You declared war on the wrong race." Torvak was silent for a long moment. Then she did something that surprised Sung-Ho. She bowed deeply, the Valari gesture of respect. "Your species has taught us something," she said. "Something we should have learned long ago. Strength is not just about weapons and ships. It is about will. And your will is stronger than any weapon we possess. Does this mean you will leave us in peace? It means that the Valari Dominion will never forget what happened here. For better or worse, the galaxy will never be the same." 1 year later, the treaty was signed aboard the rebuilt Station Horizon. It was a clear day, if such a thing could be said about space. Eartham in the viewport, blue and green and beautiful. Scarred, yes. Changed, certainly. But still there. Still spinning. Still home. Captain Park Jisoo, now Admiral, stood at the observation deck. She had commanded the defense of this station during the darkest days of the war. She had watched friends die and cities burn. She had sent that first defiant message, those 2 simple words that had started everything. "We decline." Beside her, the Valari ambassador waited in uncomfortable silence. It was strange, Jisoo thought, how quickly enemies could become something else. Not friends, certainly, but not enemies either. Just 2 species learning to exist in the same galaxy. "Your species fascinates us," the ambassador said finally. "Your history is nothing but war and disaster. You should have destroyed yourselves long ago." Jisoo nodded. She had thought about this many times. Probably. We have killed millions of our own kind over the centuries. We have burned our cities and poisoned our air and driven countless other species on our planet to extinction. By all logic, we should be gone. Then why are you still here? She thought about her grandmother, long dead now but still alive in her memory. About Lieutenant Oyuna, whose sacrifice had turned the tide. About all the ordinary people who had picked up weapons and fought for their home. Because that is what humans do, she said. We survive. We adapt. We endure. Every time we fall, we get back up. Every time we are knocked down, we stand again. It is not courage, not really. It is stubbornness. We are too stubborn to die. And when someone threatens what you love? Jisoo turned to face the ambassador directly. Her eyes were hard, the eyes of someone who had seen too much death and would never forget it. When someone threatens what we love, she said quietly, we make them regret it. The ambassador had no response. Below them, Earth continued its ancient rotation. The ocean sparkled under the sun. Clouds drifted across continents that were slowly being rebuilt. In the cities, people were returning to their homes. In the fields, farmers were planting new crops. In the schools, children were learning about the war that their parents had fought. They learned about Admiral Lee Haijin, who had commanded the fleet through impossible odds. About Sergeant Han Sujin, who had led guerrilla fighters through occupied territories. About General Baek Ju-hoon, who had planned the strike that killed High Commander Torvax. About Ambassador Kang Eunji, who had won allies when humanity had nothing to offer but determination. And they learned about Lieutenant Oyuna, whose final words had become the motto of a new generation. We do not kneel. Those words were carved into monuments now. They were printed on flags and painted on walls. They were taught to children before they could walk. They were the promise that humanity made to itself and to the galaxy. Never again would they be caught unprepared. Never again would they face an enemy alone. The human fleet was being rebuilt, bigger and stronger than before. New weapons were being developed based on captured technology. Alliances were being formed with other species who had watched humanity's defiance and found their own courage. The galaxy was changing. The old order, ruled by fear and conquest, was beginning to crack. And at the center of that change was one small, stubborn species from one small, stubborn planet. High Commander Torvax had been right, in a way. Humanity was primitive. Their technology was centuries behind the great powers. Their population was tiny compared to the galaxy's billions. By any logical measure, they should have been conquered in days. But logic did not account for stubbornness. It did not measure love or sacrifice or the desperate fury of people fighting for their home. It could not calculate the power of 8 billion individuals who refused to surrender. The Valari had learned this lesson the hard way. Other species would learn it too, eventually. Anyone who threatened Earth, anyone who tried to take what humanity had built, would face the same implacable resistance, because humans did not forget. They did not forgive. And they never, ever gave up. Admiral Park Ji-soo looked at the stars spreading out before her. Somewhere out there were species that had not yet heard of humanity. Somewhere were empires